And I love it when Spirit just brings these two kind of presenter worlds together, as we do on Sunday mornings. You have the speaker, and you have the musician, and sometimes there's the desire to see, well, what's she talking about, or what she's singing, you know. But then there's those opportunities when you just trust, and bam, it's perfect. This is who I am, right? And the title of today's message is Worthy of Wonderful, and clearly this is who we all are. We are all worthy of wonderful. And many of you know that I counted this morning, 27 years ago, I wrote a song called I Am Worthy of Love. Can you believe it? So you know that song?
Yes.
27 years ago.
You were just a baby.
I know. It's amazing how that works. And the message is somewhat similar to what Mickey P was saying. You know, that the first verse of that goes, once there was a time when my frame of mind was lost and alone. Seems a long time ago, I came to believe that nobody loved me. And from then on, I went searching, but never finding love that was for real. But now I realize the truth. Love's not envy, love's not rude. Love is patient, love is kind. And so I've made up my mind that I am worthy of love. So when we think about worth, it's not about deservability. It's not what, you know, that we deserve to have, or that we're deserving this, or we're deserving more, or deserving less. Worthiness is our inherent existence. We come into this existence worthy, period. End of sentence. Of course, I've got to 10:40, so I can't keep going. But, or 10:40. But the fact of the matter is that we are all worthy. There was, and many of you probably remember her, Unity minister by the name of Sharon Poindexter. How many of you remember Sharon? Yeah. And before she passed, a mutual friend of ours had recorded some of her teachings. And one was on creating healthy relationships, or creating loving relationships. And in it, there was this brief line where she said, I am worthy, not because of what I know, what I've come here to do, not because of what I have, what I've learned. It's simply because I am, and so therefore I am worthy. So many times in these types of communities of new thought, of where we're exploring our spiritual growth and our ability to be connected one with the universe, right? It is because sometimes we feel disconnected. And there are a myriad of things that can cause that to happen. For instance, I got a new iPhone yesterday. I've been an Android user for as long as there's been, you know, a smartphone, right? And I tell you, that sense of disconnection clicked in right away. It's that part of you that, you know, you do so well in life, and then you get to something and says, I know nothing at all. I am completely challenged by my wisdom right now. And so you rely on people to kind of help you remember, you know the truth of who you are. But jokingly, yes, but seriously, there are those moments in life when we feel a sense of disconnection from our worth, from our inherent birthright. Sometimes we feel disconnected just from love or happiness, because things happen. Life happens. People come in and out of our lives in some form or fashion, in some way. And in those moments, we feel a sense of angst, a sense of, why is this happening? Why is this happening to her? Why is this happening to me? Or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's financial. As long as there is economic flux in the world, we will have economic flux in our lives, right? And when things are just kind of smoothing, kind of just going right along, and then all of a sudden there's a disruption. Sometimes we feel a sense of disconnection from that place of peace and that place of security and that place of feeling worthy, right? There are lots of different things that can happen in our life experience that may cause us to feel a sense of disconnection from our good. But the great thing about worthiness is that you can never be disconnected from it. You can never be disconnected from God, our source. You can never be disconnected from all that is good. You cannot be disconnected from it. It's just that feeling, of that sense of feeling that when we aren't sure of ourselves and that inherent worthiness. So, worthy of wonderful, in my mind and in my experience of claiming my worth and being connected to my worth, starts with an emptying process. Starts with letting go. And for some of us, that's easier than not, right? You know, we're so accustomed to having what we want, or so accustomed to having things a certain way, that letting go can be really challenging. In A Course in Miracles, there's those sections that talk about the fact that there is no meaning. Everything we look at, there's no meaning. When you go into the instructional part of that, it gives you a task of looking at various things around the room and totally disconnecting any meaning that it might have. And boy, that can be tough. You look at a picture of your child, oh, it has no meaning, really? Okay. You look at your ring, your wedding ring, it has no meaning. Although that special thing that sits on that chest or drawer, really, that has a whole lot of meaning for me, right? But how do we then say, you know what? It really has no meaning other than the meaning that we put towards it, okay? So that part of connecting with our self-worth means to let go of all the things that we kind of ultimately attach to ourselves as what we think is our worth, right? Our car, our home, the bank account, whatever that is, okay? It is our opportunity to let go, and continue to practice letting go. That all of those things, they really only have the meaning that I've given to it. This is just a tangible object. It's plastic, it's metal. Great sounds come out of it. But other than that, what does it mean? Can I let it go? Do I need it for my existence? No. So as we begin to feel our connection with who we are, we start by letting go of what we think we are, or who we think we are, or what we think actually brings meaning to our lives. So one of the ways that we do this, especially in New Thought and in our spiritual practice, is to meditate, is to go into the silence and to empty out any thoughts that might be coming through our mind at that moment, but then letting it go. The silence is a wonderful way to reconnect with our inherent worth, our love for life, or all that we truly understand is good for our well-being, right? Going into the silence and allowing it to just be silent. Sometimes that can be challenging, but that's okay. We always practice that when those little thoughts come into our mind, just don't worry about it. Don't give it any judgment. Don't worry that you're not doing it right. Just let it go and try and get back into that space again of just being at peace. Another way that we look at becoming more connected with our inherent worth is to recognize that when we're letting go and we've created that space, now we have space. Now we have all kinds of room to discover and allow. So let me tell you a quick story. I have a dear friend, Chaz Wesley. He's in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I highly encourage you to make him a guest speaker one of these days. He's a busy guy, but I think I got the connections. Chaz is a speaker. He is an expert in the field of hospice and grief. And so the work that we did with me in my worthiness and letting go, he was a perfect coach for that, because he's very accustomed to seeing things release and let go with no judgment and no regret. Okay? It is what it is. Not that it's not feeling and caring and you don't recognize the joy that those individuals bring into your life, but there is that place where you simply let go. So Chaz and I, we did a couple of what you call surrender adventures. The first time we went, he called me up and he said, Bukeka, would you like to go on a surrender adventure with me? And I said, well, sure. And so when I told someone that I was going on a surrender adventure with Chaz Wesley, they said, well, what is that? I'm like, I have no idea. I just know that he's coming up from Tulsa, he's gonna pick me up, and we're gonna get in the car and we're gonna go. Now, at this time, I had a speaking engagement in St. Louis, Missouri. And so when he came, I said, now, so what are we gonna do? He said, well, what we're gonna do is we're going to light a candle, and we're going to speak into intention, you know, what it is that you're wanting to surrender. What do you want to let go of? And then we're going to blow out that candle, and wherever the smoke goes, however the wind blows that smoke, is the direction that we're going to start driving. I hope we go east. But we had about 3 days ahead of time before I absolutely had to be there. I'm like, okay. Fortunately, the wind blew us east, so it was great. So we start driving. And the process was to, again, start out with what it was that you wanted to surrender. What thoughts did you want to let go of? So at the time, I wanted to let go of any fear around finances. I was just getting ready to release my next CD. When, you know, she knows you put money into those puppies, okay? And then you go out and you market it, and you want it to sell. So go to her website, buy her music, okay? And so we just allowed for that time while we were driving to surrender those thoughts that I had around money and finances and being an entrepreneur and being a musician, okay, on top of everything else. And gosh, you know, the thoughts that surprised me, because a lot of those things you don't really pay attention to. You're just kind of in go mode, and you're scheduling your engagements, you're creating your marketing pieces, you're uploading your music, blah, 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 blah. You're just kind of in go mode, but so you don't necessarily realize all the thoughts that are happening while those to-do lists are taking place, right? And what I realized in agreeing to surrender, that those thoughts really came to the surface. They came to my consciousness, and I thought, wow, you know, well, if I don't correct some things, you know, this puppy's not gonna, you know, go over very well, because there were some fear issues. There were fears about, you know, will people like it? Will people buy it? Will the volume of those sales be enough to do what I want to do? You know, and those are the things that obviously are connected to my worthiness, my feeling of, will this work? am I really worthy of having all of this? I was thinking in terms of worthiness as deserving, okay? Even all those years ago, I wrote that song, I am worthy, not because of what I know, what I do, what I have, and simply because I am. Still those thoughts were kicking into gear, okay? So I had to surrender. I had to let go. I had to create in order to create the space for what I truly wanted. So we're driving along, and once we got to Columbia, okay, we got on the topic of one of the songs, which was "I Am Worthy," and I realized that, man, yes, I believe these words, I know these words, I sing these words, I have a whole platform for it, okay, but do I really believe it? Am I really integrated in it? Is it really a part of who I am? And that was a big aha moment for me. You should have seen the tears that fell in Columbia, Missouri that day. And from that point of being able to surrender those thoughts, letting go of those dormant beliefs that was causing that sense of disconnection from my worth, okay? That was a huge moment. So if you are in that space right now, if you find yourself that you are feeling disconnected from your inherent good, from your self-worth, from your God self, from the oneness of the universe, okay? Give yourself permission to allow those thoughts to come to the surface and let it go. The other thing that's a real indicator of, are you feeling your connection with your worth, is that sense of feeling. The tension that we have in our bodies, okay, where's that coming from? The tension that we have in our stomach or our shoulders, where's that coming from? Are there any thoughts connected with that? And how do I let that go? What's it connected to? When I begin to realize what they're connected to, what thoughts are connected to, it's important for you to let them go, but to acknowledge them. Give them some voice so that you can turn that around. Wayne Dyer, in his book, The Power of Intention, which I think coincides really well with this idea of worthiness and well-being, says that there are 7 faces of intention. There's creativity, there's kindness, there's love, there's beauty, there's expansion, there's abundance, there's receptivity. Okay? So if we're not feeling if we're not feeling creative, if we're not feeling love and kindness and joy and beauty, then that's our opportunity to reconnect and to set the intention to reconnect with our self-worth. When I think about that trip so many years ago and what it's led to, oh my gosh, it's so worth it. It's so worth it to go deep and discover, let go, and create the space for the next chapters or the next way that you're going to express in the world. From that time, I've had one thing after another come to fruition. One thing after another come to fruition. And because of the different areas of where it is in terms of those pillars of life, relationship, the finances, all of our environment, sometimes it took a little bit of more time than maybe one to get to it, because I still had to keep releasing and letting go and creating a new space and feeling my sense of self-worth, that it is mine, that I am connected and I am one with it, okay? Funny story, okay? I like to tell stories. So one of the things that I really wanted was a relationship that was worthy of who I am, okay? And so there came a time when I created some space, okay? I let go of some things, let go of some people, created some space, and I began to focus on what was beautiful for me, what was loving, what was kind for me, what was expansion for me, what was I willing to give, and what did I want back? Not that I needed to have someone give something back to me, but you know, the universe is reciprocal, right? You're gonna put out, you're gonna get it back, okay? So I had some time to just focus on what I wanted in relationship. I realized that I did want to be married. I'd been married before, and I wanted to be married again. I liked the idea of marriage, and I knew that I wanted to have someone. I wanted to be together with that person. You know, I wanted to do stuff together. And so, in my journal, every day, I would write, "My husband and I. My husband and I are going around the world. My husband and I are raising our children. My husband and I are raising our grandchildren. My husband and I took a cruise. My husband and I did this, did that, did this. And I love my husband, and my husband loves me. And we are together, and my husband loves and adores me, and he treats me like the queen that I am." So I contemplated on this, and I marinated on it, and I allowed myself to simply be in that space, okay? So, 2012 rolls around, and my parents said, "You know, you should try online dating." I'm like, "You guys have got to be crazy." But I did. So I went online, and I at that point I had made the decision. I was like, "Well, maybe I'll move. There's no one here. Maybe I'll move." So I set my sights for the East Coast. And so in my mind, you know, I'm the boss, I'm worthy, I'm gonna find the guy, all right? I'm not paying attention to anybody winking at me. I'm gonna wink at them, and I will let them know if I am interested in him. And so one beautiful face came across, you know, and so I said, "Oh, well, he likes football, and you know, but he's here in Kansas City, and I think I'm gonna head out to the East Coast, and I'll just focus my attention that way. But he looks nice enough. Maybe we can go to a couple of Chiefs games together. He likes football." So I met him. I had him meet me at the Blue Room, where I had a performance that night that was absolutely amazing, right? And the crowd was great, and I had this cute little dress on, and everything was going wonderful. I hadn't eaten that much that day, though, because, you know, I'm going out on a date, you know, so you want everything to be just right. And so, after the second set, and the music that I was performing at the Blue Room was a lot of that original music. Spirit is alive, I am worthy, positivity, and the crowd was loving this stuff, okay, which was, you know, again, you know, I am feeling my sense of self-worth, you know, and there's this guy in the audience, he's looking at me, he's got the camera going, this is fun. So, after the second set, he brings me out into the atrium, he says, "You know, I love your music, it's so positive, it's really inspiring to me," and I was like, thank you. And I was feeling a little woozy, you know, I figured it was the lights, you know, the heat, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, pay no attention, you know, and I hear him say, "Pull up a chair behind her." I'm like, "Oh, that's so sweet." Chivalry is not dead. I had fainted. The lights, the lack of hydration, not eating that well. I literally fell into the arms of the man that I was going to marry. And when he told me, once we had a few dates and we started talking about, you know, our lives together, he said, you know, I really thought about it. He says, I love you. I adore you. You are my queen. I go, where's my journal? Has he been reading my journal? But from that experience, we have a wonderful life together. And it's relationship. So there's always stuff. But I love him. And he loves me. And he does. He treats me like the queen that I am. When it comes to your worthiness, you can always, always trust that your well-being is always leading you in the direction of your heart's desire. You can always trust that your self-worth is always on the path of your divinity. You can always trust that your sense of worthiness is always keeping you connected with that which is beautiful, creative, expansive, and kind, and loving. And that as you are expressing that, it is always coming back in that reciprocal nature that we know as the universe. And we're so thankful to be one with that, correct? So I'd like to just bring this to a close by asking you to participate in a little activity. Now, in Wayne's book, he talks about just speaking the word intention has so much power. And we know that there are certain words that have a lot of power, okay? There's that word oneness, right? There's that word intention. There's worthiness. There's also those words that we use when we're chanting. When we say the word Jesus or the Christ. When we say the word, when we use even some of the Buddhist chants that we become familiar with. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. You know, those types of things that kind of stirs the energy, stirs the vibration, brings it up higher, expresses in great ways. So let's try that with worthy, okay? So I just want you to feel that sense within your being, letting everything go, just relax, okay? And I want us to just allow that word worthy to just come out of our mouths with that sense of intention and joy. Worthy, 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 worthy. Now take a deep breath in. Let it go. Deep breath in. And let it go. Does anybody have a description of what you're thinking or feeling, or what that feels like, or how is that resonating with you? Anybody care to share?
Powerful.
Anything else? It does feel powerful. It feels like you can do anything. Knowing that your worth is not connected to anything external, that it is your inherent birthright. It is you. It is you. It is who you are. Speaking that into intention gives you that sense of that you are standing on the shoulders of greatness. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Just like intention, intention. Just like love, 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 love. Those are words that connect with the beauty of who we are. So let us go into a time of meditation. And I invite you to close your eyes, get settled in your posture, and I want you to really feel that posture of worthy, of wonderful.